Hey everyone! Today's video tutorial is about making granny squares, and for that tutorial I'm going to use this brand new yarn. And what's the magic of the yarn is we are not going to change our colors throughout each granny squares rounds. So we are going to have 5 rounds, and because we have the privilege of not changing the colors, we are going to have the same color what it is made for, what it is engineered for. So in this label we have the idea of the whole granny squares, how it's going to turn out. Each granny square is going to be this type of colors, and it's, just so you know, it's soft white citrus twist color shade of this yarn, and it's similar to the Red Heart Super Saver regular yarn, and to give the idea of its or other feature, then it's medium worsted for yarn weight. To crochet we are going to use 5.5 mm, and to knit using this yarn we are going to use 5 mm knitting needle. Also, it said that one ball of this all-in-one granny square is going to make 14 granny squares. So I think that's reasonable amount of granny squares to make some projects out of it. Before we jump directly to tutorial of our granny square using this brand new yarn, I'd like to give you the idea of how it is actually going to build and what's the structure and how granny square formed. And this is going to be our regular granny square. All right, so I'm giving you this idea because it's going to be much helpful when you are going to execute the tip I'm going to share here. So let's get started. 3 double crochet is equal to 1 cluster. So whenever I say cluster, it's 3 double crochet, group of 3 double crochet. Now whenever we are working with the side edges of the squares, then 2 clusters are going to have 1 chain in between. Okay, 1 chains, and then in between these 2 clusters whenever we are working on the sides of these squares. Now whenever we are working on the corners of these squares, all 4 corners, then every time we are going to make 3 chains in between 2 clusters. All the corners are going to have 2 clusters in each corner, and in between those 2 corners we are going to have 3 chains. Okay, 3 chains. This is going to be a helpful thing to remember whenever we are using the tip I'm going to share it with you during this tutorial. So let's get started with this. So we are going to have our very first color, and to form this color we have to center pull for this yarn. So for this yarn, to get the right square, we are going to center pull. So we are going to start with our magic loop. Okay, and in that magic loop we are going to have 4 cluster, right? 4 cluster, because we want to form the square, and 4 clusters meaning 3 double crochets, so total 12 double crochets. All right, and each cluster is separated by 1 corner. Okay, and so 1 corner, that means 3 chains. All right, 3 chains. So like you're going to have chains, and these chains is going to be look like this. This is your very first round. Okay, and let's say you have finished your round right there. Okay, so let's say you have finished left side, in the corner of the left side right there. Then whenever you start any next round in the squares, then you are going to form 3 chains, right? You are going to make 3 chains at the beginning of the round. And remember, in all the granny squares you are going to count these 3 chains as your first double crochet. And since we are working in the corners and 1 double crochet has been made, we need to make 1 whole cluster. So 1 double crochet has been made, so you're going to create another 2 double crochets. And since it's corner, we are going to separate those cluster by 3 chains. So after forming 2 double crochets here, we are going to make 3 chains because it's corner, right? Corner, and 3 chains, 1 2 3, and again we are going to make one more cluster because it's corner, right? This is what I mean by 2 clusters with 3 chains in each corner. 2 clusters with 3 chains. Now let's jump to the sides. From jumping from to one corner to next corner, we are going to have 1 chain in between 2 clusters. So 1 cluster already has been made in the corner. We are going to create one more chain here because we are going to work in the side edges, and now we are jumping to the next corner and we are going to work in the corner same way as the first one. So 1 cluster, 3 chains, and 1 cluster. Now at the side we are going to form 1 chain, then 3 double crochets, that is 1 cluster, 3 chains, 1 cluster, again 1 chain, 1 cluster, 3 chain, 1 cluster, and now we need to join it. So of course it's sides, so we are going to chain 1 and we are going to use top of our 3 chains when we have started, and we are going to join with the slip stitches. Okay, all right. So based on this, what you are going to think is, okay, then it's going to be simple. We are going to always start from there and we are going to repeat what we have done in the first round. But no, because this is the yarn where we are not going to fasten off the yarn and we are going to keep using our yarn. So in this moment we are going to have these lessons what I gave you, 3 double crochet, side edges and corner, is going to be very much helpful. So let's get started with our tutorial and understand it very deeply what I mean by. Okay, so I have center pulled it from that yarn. Okay, and based on their page, based on their instructions how to use and form the granny square, they said like whenever you start creating your first granny square, you should leave approximately 4 inches of yarn before you start working in it. So let's measure. So this is like around 4 inches of yarn, so hold that 4 inches of yarn. And now they made some chains and something like that, but I like to work in the magic loop whenever I'm forming any granny squares. So I'll make the magic loop, and to make the magic loop you are going to wrap the loop around your finger. Okay, so now you have 2 parallel lines, yarns, to the front side, and back side you have little X. So to make the magic loop, cross your hook from the bottom downside of it, come in the middle in between these 2 parallel lines. Now draw your loop, draw this one, the first line from the bottom, and now just cross it like this, draw it like this, and now hold it. It's already formed. Hold it. Now you have your working yarn, the short yarn and the working yarn here. So this short tail we are going to leave it like that and secure this working yarn, hold it, and now look at that, the loop has been formed. Now we are going to work in this loop. So when you start working in that loop, just start creating 3 chains because it's your granny square and we are going to work in the double crochets. And as I mentioned before, 3 chains are going to be your first double crochet. Every time we make 3 chains, it's going to be your 1 double crochet throughout your granny square. So 1 double crochet has been made, and as I mentioned, 3 double crochets is equal to 1 cluster. So to create 1 cluster, we are going to have 2 more double crochets. So 1 and 2. 1 cluster has been made, and now we need to work for the corner. And as I mentioned before, corners are your 3 chains. Okay, create another cluster. So 3 more double crochets, Now corner, 3 chains, another cluster. This is your third cluster, okay? Three chains, make another cluster. Last one, the fourth one is your last one. Okay, so we still need to make 3 chains and we are already lacking some of the yarns. So unfortunately I don't have any tip for this one. You have to redo some of your work here. So I'll just stretch it a little bit tighter and I'll try another cluster with a tighter stretched yarn so that I can get more yarns to form my 3 chains at the end of this cluster. Crochet is all depends on tensions, and so is this granny squares with this yarn. Okay, perfect. So 3 chains, and now we are going to, okay, so we started with the 3 chains right here, okay, and we need to join our work with this first cluster after 3 chains. So 1 2 3 at the top of this chain right here, join it with slip stitch. There you go. So your first round has been done, and it's looking weird because we need to pull this short tail. It's our magic loop, and that's why I love magic loop. You can just do this and it looks so perfect. I love it. Okay, so you already have the second color, orange color, and you have finished your work here in the corner. So let's do 3 chains. Always we are going to start with 3 chains, and since we are at the sides, 3 chains is equal to 1 double crochet. But as I mentioned, when you are going from one corner to another corner, or whenever you're working in the sides, whenever you're working in the sides, in between 2 clusters you need 1 chain. So we are going to form 1 more chain, as this will be your clusters double crochet. Okay, so 1 chain. Okay, so double crochet, 1 chain, and then now yarn over and make 1 cluster in the corner. One cluster has been made. Now as we are in the corner, we need 3 chains and 1 more cluster in the same corner. 1 2 3. Again we are at the sides, okay, and chain 1 and jumping to the next corner. In corner always 2 clusters separated by 3 chains. Okay, so first cluster, three chains, second cluster, one chain, 2 cluster separated by 3 chains, chain, cluster. It's new yarn and tighter, so I have to drag it. So okay, one cluster, chain one, and now we already have one double crochet here, like the chains. So we are going to only create one chain, two chain, three chain. We are only going to create 2 double crochets. Okay, after making 2 double crochets, we need to join it. So 1 2 3, top of your third chain, and there you go. Now you must be wondering what's going on. You still have so much yarn left, and that's where my tip is going to be so much useful to you, because based on what they have given to us is whenever you are like you have much yarn left, and whenever you have less yarn left, then you have to redo your work and you have to adjust your tensions. But I have the tip for the extra yarn left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply reduce my yarn using the slip stitches to the next stitches until I get to my different color. Look at that. I'm just simply going and going and going to reduce my color. Just slip stitches. This is so simple and so useful. At least it's very much useful to me. Now you have reached to your third color, and now just you can start working wherever you left. So since we are in the middle and sides, we are going to create one cluster. So 3 chains, 2 more double crochets, chain 1. Okay, because we are going to the corner, chain 1. Now in the corner, 2 cluster separated by 3 chains. Sorry for the trouble. So 1 cluster has been made, 3 chains, 1 more cluster, only chain 1 because we are working in the sides. Okay, chain 1, sides to corner, in corner 2 clusters separated by 3 chains, Isn't that fun? You are not going to have so many yarns to weave in at the end of the crochet square. I just in love with this yarn. You know, it's kind of new technology, so every time a new technology comes in, you are like not very much used to of it, but then you cannot even live without it. So that's how it is for me. This yarn is amazing, uniquely engineered yarn, and I love to use it. I don't know who thought of it and just reduce the work. I'm assuming it must be a like crafter, passionate crafter who must have thought to make our work easier. And granny square is like classic, can never get old. It's just lovely. You all following me? Like, is it helpful to you? How about the tip I shared? Let me know in the comments below. I hope that's gonna help you out too. It's definitely working for me, but I would love to know if it's working for you as a same way like me or not. So this is, we are almost there to finish our round 3 with this magenta, beautiful magenta color. And I'm not going to fast forward this video, but if you would like to just skip and fast forward the video, please go ahead and do it, because I would like to show you like how I'm changing color and what you can do and what's happening out here. So it will be, the whole video is like this. I'm not going to fast forward or change anything. All right, so we are done with our round 3, and since we need to join and we are at the sides, we only need to separate these 2 clusters by chain 1. So chain 1, and now 1 2 3, top of your 3rd chain, join in with slip stitch. Don't like drag it too much, otherwise it's gonna lose your chain. It's not gonna look better. Now you have finished here, and again we are left with more yarn. So as I shared my tip, just slip stitch, go forward and reduce your yarn color like this. Okay, perfect. Look at that, done. And we are with another 4th color of our yarn, so that it's our 4th round as well, starting with 3 chains always. Okay, and we need to make 2 clusters separated by 3 chains here. So 1 double crochet has been made, 2 more to form our cluster. 1 cluster is done, separated by 1 2 3 chains, and 1 more cluster. Chain 1, sides always separated by 1 chain, all cluster whenever you're working on the sides. Just don't wanna fast forward it to share like how beautiful the tip is and how magically it's working for me. Just wanna share, even if it's gonna help single person, I'll be so happy. Okay, corner, 2 chains, sorry, 3 chains, 2 clusters. Two and 3. Chain 1, working on the sides, forming a cluster, separating by chain 1 only. Working in the corner, 2 clusters separated by 3 chains. So did you see like how less work it is? I'm not redoing so much. I only had to redo my work when I was at the 2nd round. So it's just amazing. think about the projects you're gonna work with. Oh my god. At the end, you will only have 2 yarns to weave in, like the very first one right here and the last shade. I know that there is only limitations of the colors, but still it's genius. Colors are not bad, they are pretty much good. Yay, we are at the end of round 4 and beginning of the round 5. So chain 1 and 1 2 3, third chain, slip stitch, don't drag it too much, gently. Perfect. We still have more yarn left. Going to only slip stitch and reduce the yarn. Look at that, how beautifully it's working for me. I'm doing 3 slip stitches here because of our 3 chains, and I don't wanna tighter and like ruin the look of the corners. So in the corner, whenever you are doing the slip stitches, make sure you are working 3 slip stitches. Okay, so we are at the round 5, beginning of the round 5. So we are going to chain 3 as always, and now since we are in the middle, we are going to make one cluster. So 3 chain is equal to 1 double crochet, second double crochet, and this third double crochet. Now because we are in sides, we are going to chain 1, and then we are going to continue working what we have learned so far. So let's continue doing that and finished this round 5 as well, our very last round. I'm so excited. So the purpose of this video is, and also why I'm not sharing directly the granny motif diagram and sharing this 3 double crochets, 1 cluster and side edges kind of thing, is because I just don't want to, you know, increase your work, because this yarn is new. Definitely it's new. And so for that, if you have the idea like wherever you're going to stop, where to start, then it's going to be easy for you. And because all of our like individuals tensions for the crochet is going to be different, right? So it's not always going to be the same case. So in this video, when I started the first round, I was lacking the yarn. But what if I do another, or any one of you are going to start with the first one and you're not going to you might have the exact yarn, you might have the less yarn, or you might have the excessive yarn. So it's totally depends on your tension of your crochet. So wherever you stop, you should be able to now, because of this idea, like how the granny square constructed, you should have that idea of making this granny square. So the whole purpose of this video is to understand the construction, like how the granny square is being built. So that was my motive, and I hope that this video is going to help you out. But I really would like to know your opinion and your experience with this brand new yarn, and how it is helpful to you. It's definitely helpful to me, and if I'm being very honest, so this is my seventh ball of yarn. So I have the experience of 6 whole balls. So I made 14 into 6 granny squares by like till this day. So I would like to share my experience when I first started using this granny square. So my experience was, it was like I was like what's going on. I was a little bit uncomfortable, but after making 5 squares, I was like, oh my god, this is fun. It's just how you're going to practice it. It's like new technology. So when new technology comes in, it takes time to get adjusted, but then you're gonna be like, oh, this is amazing. So this is something like that only. This is new engineered yarn, and believe me, just imagine you're going to create the whole granny square blanket, the whole blanket, how many squares you're going to have. And if you're changing the colors and you don't have this yarn, how many yarns you're going to weave in after your whole project. So even though your one side is going to be amazing with the separate yarns, but only you and you know as a crocheter the back side of that granny square blanket. It's going to be a lot of work, but with this yarn it's going to be so much less work, because you will only have the very first color and the last color to weave in. And believe me, it's amazing. I already used 6 balls of yarn and I made so many things. So that's why I was so excited to share this with you. And I believed in not sharing the round 1, round 3, round 4 starting point, and instead I just wanted to give you the idea of how granny square is actually being constructed and what's the idea behind it. And this is just a cluster and you are leaving the space between it. So I know like we have many types of granny squares, but this is about regular granny square, of course. So that's it from me for now, and I hope you're following this video with me. I have not speeded up anything till now, so I really hope that even a single person is going to get help from my video. I would be just so happy, so happy. There you are. Wow. So chain 1 and then now count on third, the very top one, slip stitch. All right, so let's cut it. And there. All right, I hope this video helped you out, and it gives you the idea like how actually granny square built. Like one more time to summarize: 3 double crochets, 1 cluster. This is 1 cluster. Every time we create 3 chains, where in the beginning of the rows it's going to be your first one double crochet. Like every time you start your row, it's one double crochet. Side edges, we always separate these two clusters with one chains only whenever you are working in the sides. So this is what I mean. Whenever you're working in the sides, only one chain separating these two clusters, and every time you are working in the corners, so these corners, all right, these four corners we have in the squares, each square is going to have four corners. So in the corners, two clusters separating by three chains, always two clusters separating by three chains. So this is how it's gonna work. All right, so let's quickly weave in the first and the last yarn, and as promised, this one square is going to be 6 inches from all side. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what's your opinion, what's your suggestion. I can just improve my video based on what you think. But thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe my channel to get another amazing video.